William J. Coughlin never imagined that what started as a thrilling adventure with friends would turn into a terrifying ordeal. It was supposed to be just another daring cave exploration, but on May 30th, 1993, things took a terrifying turn. Trapped and injured deep within the cave, William faced every caver's worst nightmare, a situation from which there was no easy escape. William J. Coughlin loved adventure. He was tall, strong, and always ready for a challenge. Standing over 6 feet tall and weighing nearly 230 pounds, he was no stranger to physical challenges. His deep love for nature led him to work at the Federal Environmental Protection Agency, spending his days in the great outdoors. But his passion didn't stop there. It drove him to explore caves with his close friend, James Jalala. What started as a simple hobby turned into a deadly journey deep into the dark and dangerous Buzzard Roost Cave in Cave City, Kentucky. The excitement begins. It was Memorial Day weekend in 1993 when William, James, and another friend, Kevin Feely, set off from Oak Forest, Illinois on an 8-hour drive to Cave City, Kentucky. The weekend was filled with excitement as the group looked forward to the thrill of exploring the cave systems they had read about. Their destination, Buzzard Roost Cave, a place known for its tight passages, sharp stalagmites, and slick floors, a cave tour meant only for the most daring visitors. Despite being beginners, William and James were eager to tackle the challenge. They arrived in Cave City on Sunday, May 30th, with high spirits and little more than simple clothes and a handheld flashlight for equipment. They ignored the local attractions, heading straight for the cave, ready to prove their bravery. The first red flags. Before starting the Wild Cave tour, William and his friends had to sign a release form and pay an additional fee. This form stated that the cave operators wouldn't be held responsible if anything went wrong. Unfortunately, they didn't receive proper gear or equipment for the more difficult parts of the cave. They were only given basic flashlights. The lack of adequate preparation made their adventure much riskier than they had anticipated. Because when they arrived at the cave, a guide named David Hardin met them along with 4 other tourists. Before they could enter, they were handed a release form. They didn't think much of it and quickly signed, but something seemed off. Only one form was given for all of them to sign. It was a warning that maybe this adventure wasn't as safe as they thought. Kevin felt uneasy and decided to back out, but William and James were determined. They signed the form and joined the simple, easy tour of the historic cave. After it ended, Hardin surprised them with another form and asked for more money to join the Wild Cave tour. This part of the tour was different. It involved crawling through tight spaces and climbing down steep ladders, all without the right gear or preparation. William and his friends were excited to explore Buzzard Roost Cave, which offered 2 types of tours. The historic tour was simple and easy, designed for beginners. It allowed visitors to see the cave's main features without much effort. The Wild Cave tour, however, was much more challenging. It involved tight squeezes, crawling, and climbing, making it suitable only for experienced cavers. The descent into disaster. With nothing but their handheld flashlights, the group entered the Wild Cave. William, being larger than the rest, struggled from the start. Moving through the restricted pathways was difficult, and each sharp edge and squeeze left him injured and drained. But he remained motivated by the excitement of the challenge and the desire to demonstrate his stamina. The tour took them deeper into the cave, where they encountered 2 ladders. The first, 30 feet high, was manageable, but the second, a 20-foot ladder leading down into a narrow V-shaped passage, proved much more difficult. William, exhausted and damaged, barely made it through the tight squeeze to the big room, where the trip was finalized. Relieved but tired, William and the others rested, exploring the surrounding passages while Hardin, their guide, informed them that they were behind schedule and needed to begin the climb back up. William, now thoroughly exhausted, struggled to ascend the ladder. He tried several times but couldn't muster the strength. His friends urged him on, but he could only manage a few steps before slipping back down, hitting his head on the rocks as he fell. A desperate struggle. William's fall was terrible. He hit his head hard and blood poured from the wound. The pain was intense. James, scared but determined, told the others to find Hardin and get help. When Hardin finally came back, he had no medical supplies, just empty promises. Despite how bad William's injury was, Hardin insisted they try to pull him up the ladder, but James knew that was impossible. William was trapped, bleeding, and getting worse. He started slipping in and out of consciousness, barely able to speak. In a desperate move, Hardin and James tried to pull him through the narrow passage, but William got stuck. He was upside down, barely able to breathe, and his pain grew worse as the cold, hard cave walls pressed against him. Hours passed before the rescue team arrived, but by then, things were critical. William was freezing, and the rescue was made even harder by the tight space he was trapped in. Despite their best efforts, the rescuers couldn't free him. William's body gave out, and at 5 a.m. on Monday, May 31st, he was pronounced dead. The aftermath. It took several more hours before William's body was finally extracted from the cave. The Kentucky medical examiner determined that the cause of death was suffocation aggravated by his head injury and the extreme conditions he had endured. The tragedy didn't end there. Despite the release form signed by William and the others, TMH International Attractions, the company responsible for the cave tour, was sued for their negligence. The court found that by accepting payment for the tour, the company was responsible for the safety and well-being of the participants, a responsibility they had clearly failed to uphold. Cave exploration, while thrilling, carries significant risks. Each year, a number of caving accidents occur due to inadequate preparation and safety measures. The mortality rate for cave explorers is relatively high compared to other adventure activities, primarily because of factors like tight spaces, sudden falls, and lack of proper equipment. To reduce these dangers, adventurers should always ensure they have the right gear, including helmets, lights, and climbing tools, and receive proper training. Always sign up with experienced guides and heed safety warnings. Awareness and preparation are key to safely enjoying the adventure of caving. William J. Coughlin's story is a stark reminder of how adventure can turn deadly. Do you think this tragedy could have been avoided? What would you have done differently? If you found this story powerful, make sure to like, share, and comment with your thoughts.
Even though they were experienced, Martin and Roger's adventure in Agen Allwedd became very scary when they faced unexpected dangers in the cave, showing how dangerous cave exploring can be, no matter how prepared you are. Imagine the excitement of exploring a hidden world beneath the ground, only for it to turn into a life-threatening situation. This is the story of Martin Fair and Roger Solari, two brave cavers who faced the ultimate prize for their passion. Their adventure in the Agen Allwedd Cave system is a tale of determination, courage, and tragedy. Agen Allwedd, also known as Coughlin Cave, is one of the longest and most complex cave systems in Wales. Agen Allwedd, also called Ogof Agen Allwedd, is a big cave in Wales, UK, found on the Allangatoch Hills. It's over 20 miles long and is made of limestone. People started looking into it in 1949, but it wasn't until 1957 that the Hereford Caving Club found the main part of the cave. In 1971, explorers like John Parker and Jay Phillips even went deeper, diving through water passages to discover more. Unfortunately, in 1973, while exploring the cave, Martin Farr and Roger Solari had an accident. Roger didn't make it back from the cave, showing how risky cave exploring can be. It stretches over 20 miles and is hidden behind a heavy metal door that needs a special key to open. This cave promises adventure, but also many dangers. Its winding passages and water-filled sections make it a serious challenge even for the most experienced cavers. Martin Farr is a well-known explorer who has been diving in caves for more than 40 years, both in the UK and around the world. He's made big discoveries in places like Wookey Hole, Peak Cavern, and South Wales. One notable achievement was in 1986 when he became the first person to go underground from the Darren Silo to Elm Hole, a distance of about 5 kilometers under Lancatock Mountain. Martin started exploring when he was 10 years old and found many new passages around the world by his mid-20s. Roger, equally passionate about caving, had a deep knowledge of geology and cave structures. He was fascinated by the Forest Master system, a network of interconnected caves. The two met during Roger's first year at university, and they quickly became close friends. They went on many expeditions together, always pushing the limits of what could be done in caving. But sometimes, exploration comes with a price. Martin shares a sad story from 1974 when he and Roger Solari were exploring the Agen Allwedd Cave system. Sadly, Roger died on June 15th of that year in the deepest part of the cave. In 1971, Martin and Roger embarked on a daring expedition to explore the depths of Agen Allwedd. Their goal was to venture further into the cave system than any previous explorers had dared to go. However, their plans changed when Roger suffered an injury to his knee, forcing him to postpone the exploration. With Roger sidelined, Martin made the difficult decision to proceed with the expedition alone, determined to push the boundaries of exploration in the Agen Allwedd despite the setback. In mid-May, Martin entered the cave with 3 air tanks. Navigating through the tight twisting passages was both physically and mentally exhausting. Still, his desire to discover new parts of the cave kept him going. He passed the areas previously explored and found a vast unexplored passage. Excited, he left his diving equipment on a gravel bank and squeezed through the narrow passages. Martin's exploration led him to a 4th submerged passage, indicating even deeper and more challenging sections. He knew he couldn't continue alone and needed Roger's help for the next phase of the journey. Once Roger got better, Martin and he were excited to explore the underwater parts of Agen Allwedd together. They planned carefully, making sure they were ready for whatever challenges came their way. With all their gear packed, they started their adventure with high hopes. The first 3 passages were easy to navigate, boosting their confidence and making them even more excited for what was next. But as they went deeper into the cave, the 4th passage had unexpected problems and dangers that made them uneasy. Despite feeling a bit scared, Martin and Roger were determined to keep going, driven their love for exploring new places. They chose to dive next to each other, which isn't common in cave diving. They even left their boots behind to make it easier to move in the narrow spots. Roger went first, laying down a guideline reel to help him find their way back. But then, he began experiencing problems regarding his nose and throat, which are the areas in your brain that may become blocked when you have a cold. Martin thought they should go back, but Roger really wanted to keep going. As they dove deeper, their air supply started to run low. Martin signaled to Roger to turn back, but Roger decided to press on. Trusting that Roger would retreat safely, Martin continued, hoping to find an air pocket. Unfortunately, he ran out of air and had to make a desperate decision to turn right in search of an escape. In a surprising turn in events, Martin spotted Roger near the top of the cave. They quickly communicated with each other, realizing they needed to get out fast. Both of them were running out of air, so they started swimming towards the surface. Martin was suffering from a severe headache and ear pain because of the pressure underwater. When Martin emerged from the water, he felt a sense of relief, but his relief turned to worry when he couldn't find Roger. He waited anxiously, scanning the water's surface, hoping to see his friend emerge. As the minutes ticked by with no sign of Roger, Martin's anxiety grew. After an hour of waiting and hoping against hope, Martin made a difficult decision. Despite knowing the dangers, he resolved to go back into the cave to search for Roger. His determination to find his friend overshadowed any fear he felt. Seriously, friendship is the hardest thing in the world to explain. As Martin courageously re-entered the cave to search for Roger, the situation became increasingly dire. Tragically, Roger did not survive the ordeal. His body was found later, indicating he had succumbed to the challenges of the dive. Martin's determined efforts to locate his friend, despite the risk involved, highlighted the depths of their bond and the fortunate outcome of their expedition. The Agen Allwedd diving tragedy is a powerful reminder of the delicate balance between exploration and safety. How do you believe Martin's decision to re-enter the cave to search for Roger reflects on the importance of friendship and loyalty in extreme situations? Share your feedback in the comment section below. Thank you for watching us. Don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more stories of adventure and courage.
Imagine going on a fun adventure only for it to turn into your worst nightmare. That's exactly what happened to Morris Patel on October 5th, 1956. What started as a simple exploration at Wildcat Cave quickly turned into a terrifying struggle for survival. Morris, a 15-year-old from the Methodist Children's Home, was no stranger to Wildcat Cave. He had snuck in many times before to escape the chaos of his life. On this day, excitement filled the air when the kids from his home set out on a bus trip to a nearby village. But fortune took a twist when the bus got a flat tire and the trip was rerouted to Wildcat Cave. For Morris, it was a golden opportunity to explore the cave more deeply than ever before. He eagerly set off with his friends, not knowing that this adventure was about to turn into a desperate fight for survival. During a school trip, Morris got separated from his friends while exploring the cave. As he navigated a tight passage, he became trapped between two boulders, stuck upside down for over 24 hours. Despite desperate efforts to free himself, Morris was unable to move. The rescue operation involved firefighters, volunteers, and a young Eagle Scout who finally succeeded in pulling him out using ropes and a special solution. Morris was rescued and taken to the hospital where he received treatment for his injuries. But how did that happen, and why did it happen? The Wildcat Cave is no ordinary cave. It sits perched 15 feet above a dry stream bed and starts off with a manageable 4 feet of height. But as you go further in, the cave narrows, dropping to a crawling height. Morris knew it was dangerous. He'd gotten lost in it before, but he still couldn't resist the temptation to explore its deeper, darker passages. This time, however, the cave's dangers proved too much. Separated from his friends, Morris wandered deeper into the cave, his excitement quickly turning to panic as he realized he was lost. The cave's passages were twisting and turning, and his attempts to retrace his steps only led him further into trouble. In his desperation to escape, Morris squeezed through a narrow, slippery crevice between two boulders, only to find himself stuck headfirst, wedged tightly between the rocks. As Morris tried to navigate the tight passage, his situation became increasingly dire. At first, the tightness of the crevice seemed manageable, but as he moved deeper, it became clear that he was completely stuck. The space around him was dark and cramped, making it difficult to stay calm. Every time Morris tried to wiggle or push his way out, he only seemed to get more wedged between the boulders. The fear began to set in as he realized that no one was nearby to hear his calls for help. Panic grew as he understood that his only hope was for rescuers to find him before it was too late. Morris's struggle was not just physical, but also mental, as he faced the terrifying reality of being trapped in such a perilous situation. As the hours passed, Morris's situation became increasingly dire. Trapped and unable to move much, he struggled to breathe and felt the crushing weight of the boulders against his body. Every attempt to wiggle free only made things worse, causing the rocks to press tighter around him. With each passing hour, his hope began to dwindle. He was alone, scared, and slowly losing the strength to keep fighting. The panic grew as time wore on. Morris's friends had left the cave, assuming he had made it out, and it wasn't until an hour later that his absence was noticed. When the search began, it was clear that Morris's plight was serious. His teacher and a few boys managed to find him, but the rescue was anything but straightforward. Despite Pal's best efforts, including trying to pull him out with a belt, Morris remained stuck. The rescue operation quickly turned into a desperate race against time. Firefighters and rescuers, led by Fire Chief Paul Codera, arrived on the scene, trying various methods to free Morris. They brought in a portable generator for light and pipes to supply oxygen, but the cave's narrow confines made the situation incredibly challenging. Drilling or using dynamite was too risky, as it might cause a cave-in. As the night set in, the story of Morris's plight became a media sensation, drawing attention from across the country. Volunteers came forward, including Evelyn Pinky Petite, a small nurse who tries to comfort Morris from as close as she could get, and Terry Brown, who rigged a makeshift pulley system. Despite their best efforts, progress was slow and Morris's condition worsened. Just when it felt like hope was slipping away, a brave young Eagle Scout named Michael Yid came forward. Michael, who was about the same size as Morris, volunteered to crawl into the cave to help. A new plan was set in motion. Rescuers used ropes and a special glycerin solution to make Morris slippery and easier to pull out. Michael carefully tied ropes around Morris and started the tough job of pulling him free. It wasn't easy, and there were times when Morris would slip back into the tight spot. But everyone stayed determined. With teamwork and perseverance, they finally managed to get Morris out. After being trapped for over 24 hours, Morris was pulled from the cave to cheers from the crowd and a wave of relief from everyone who had worked so hard to save him. He was taken to the hospital where he received treatment for exhaustion and injuries, but incredibly, he survived. Caves like Wildcat Cave can be incredibly dangerous for several reasons. The tight spaces and uneven terrain make it easy to get stuck, just like Morris Patel did. Caves can be dark and confusing with many narrow passages that can quickly turn into traps. According to studies, accidents in caves happen more often than many realize, with some reports indicating that cave rescuers are needed around 2,000 times each year in the US alone. The risk is higher in places where the terrain is rough and the cave systems are complex. Morris's terrifying experience at Wildcat Cave is a clear example of how quickly a simple exploration can become a life-threatening situation. Understanding these risks is crucial for anyone planning to explore caves, as it's essential to be prepared and cautious. Morris Patel's scary experience in the Wildcat Cave reminds us of both the excitement and dangers of exploring unknown places. His story shows how a fun adventure can suddenly become a fight for survival. What do you think would have happened if Michael Yid hadn't come to help? How do you think Morris felt when he finally got out of the cave? What safety tips should people follow when exploring risky or unknown places? Give your feedback in the comment section below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching. We will catch you in the next one.